What's up, duelists? How you guys doing today? How's it going? Today, I'm going to be showing you guys 5 replays of me playing ancient gear that I collected over the last hour or two. This is my current list for ancient gear Machina. This deck is very good. It has the potential to deal upwards of 90 billion damage in one turn. Those are the numbers. I've ran the numbers. It can deal 90 billion damage in one turn fairly consistently. There are a few cards I'm testing out in this list, but overall I'm very happy with this general configuration. I'm happy with the 2 Book of Moons in the main. They felt very strong at making sure my Machina Fortress sticks through Deep Prison and Bottomless. I also really enjoy Book of Moon backing up Ancient Gear Golem. That's a very devastating combo against a lot of different decks. They have trouble dealing with 3000 Piercer. Most decks can't really get over that efficiently. And then when you have Book of Moon to protect it from Bottomless Trap Hole or from Synchro Plays or whatnot, it's just really gross. So I do really like the 2 Book of Moons in the main. I really do like the Megamorph in the main. It combos well with Mausoleum of the Emperor. You can get a lot of OTKs that way. And I also do like the Magic Cylinder in the main, but I will say this. I side out Magic Cylinder in almost every single matchup. It is a Game 1 card only. In the sideboard, I've got 2 Compulsory Evacuation Device. These have overperformed, actually. I almost want a third, but I think the 2 are plenty. This card is very good right now. It's absolutely can't even speak straight. It's so good. It's absolutely busted in aggro mirrors. So basically what you do is you'll summon a huge monster, and then your opponent will try to summon their huge monster, and then you'll just bounce it, and then you hit them, and it doesn't matter that you're -1 because you've killed them. That's basically the concept behind Compulsory Evacuation Device. It's exceptionally good in this deck against Blackwings, because you really only need to stop their normal summon once or twice in order to win. Dust Tornado is for Royal Oppression. That card can be a headache. There are a few other cards that give you issues. Skill Drain is for quick draw decks. They have Drill Warrior and Raikou, which can cause problems. Torrential Tribute is also for, aggro mirrors. Some decks you want an extra way to stop a summon. And post-board, Torrential Tribute gets a lot better too, because your opponent will be bringing in Cyber Dragon. So you need ways to stop Cyber Dragon. I have the maximum ways to stop Cyber Dragon in the sideboard. We've got Torrential, we've got the triple Thunder King Ryo, and we've got 1 Fossil Dino. So that's at least 5 ways to stop Cyber Dragon in the post-board situation. And then on top of that, you have, Solemn, Double, Bottomless, and if you're willing to play around Cyber Dragon, then, you commit as much as you can in the post-board games, or as much as you really want to. Knock is for Raikou decks like Quick Draw. It's also for Recruiter decks like Zombie, Fairy. Soul Release is a hedge against frogs. I'm not sure if it's better than the second Dino, though. I'm not really sure yet. Gores is for aggro mirrors. It's for Blackwings and Vayu. You side it in, and then you side in your Dusts and your Compulses. When they attack you, you use one of your, your trap cards, and you bait them into attacking into Gores, basically. And Gores wins those matchups pretty easily in the post-board situations, because oftentimes they side out Deep Prison and Mirror Force, because those cards don't do anything against your 9 Ancient Gear monsters, so you usually have a pretty easy time winning with Gores once it hits play. It's also good against Oppression, which those decks tend to have as well. The extra deck doesn't really matter. You never make anything other than Chimera Attack or Stardust, so the rest of it doesn't really matter. You can Brain Control a Tuner, but that just never comes up. Let's be real. Never comes up. Okay, let's go ahead and hop into the replays. While we're getting into the replays, I just want to say thank you guys, everyone who subscribed yesterday. I got like 20 new subs yesterday. I really do want to hit 10K by the end of the year. I have a lot of really big plans for next year, but I need to have the numbers in order to really guarantee it. So if you guys aren't already subscribed, about half you guys who watch the videos are subscribed. If the other half subscribed, we'd hit 10K like overnight, basically. So just a quick reminder, if you guys want to do that. First game is against El Maverick. He's a powerful duelist. I've played against him before. I think I'm actually... I'm not sure if I'm up on him or down on him lifetime. I'm not really sure. He's playing Blackwings, and I am playing Ancient Gear, of course. He starts off with set Vayu, set Judgment, I believe. No, just set both. Set both, okay. On our turn, we have Typhoon, we have Mausoleum, Ancient Gear guy, Gear Town guy, Cyber Dragon guy. I lead on Cyber Dragon, and then I attack. The reason I lead on Cyber Dragon is because I want to bait a Bottomless. I don't want to go for any of this stuff into Bottomless Trap Hole, basically. These cards are good, but not into Unknown Back Row, basically. As long as Bottomless Trap Hole gets stopped, or the Raikou, if this is a Raikou, then I'm happy with my Cyber Dragon getting that value. Cyber Dragon is just like an opening play. It trades with Mirror Force, which isn't the best, because my cards don't really care about Mirror Force anyway, but It's fine, I guess. I set Typhoon. Here he goes for a bit of an aggressive play. He flips the Vayu, specials both Boras. He could have actually sacked the Vayu for Sirocco and gotten even more damage, but this is a little bit more reserved in case of a sweeper, so it's not the worst play. Plus he has Solemn Judgment, so I'm not really sure if he wanted to do that or not. He could have gotten in, just 1,200 more damage, whether or not that matters. I think we end up losing this game if I remember correctly. We might. I'm not sure. Actually, I don't know. We might not. We Gear Town, set the Mausoleum, go get Gadget Dragon, and then we pitch the Gadget Dragon from our hand, special the Fortress, and then I don't flip the Mausoleum and activate it here because that would put me in death range from Bryonic. So I'm playing around Blizzy. Unfortunately for us, the circumstances are just not great. They're just not great. He has Blizzy plus Whirlwind, which means we're going to die to Bryonic anyway, basically. I tried to play this best around Blizzy as I could, but I ended up playing around too much in that game, and it cost me. I probably should have just gone for the Mausoleum as well, because I don't think he could have bounced all of our cards with the amount of cards he had in hand, so that was something I should have considered better. Just played around Blizzy and not played around the Collude as well. Okay, this game he has Black Whirlwind. He also has a Tech Dark Creator, which is a really cool card in Blackwings. A lot of people have been trying it out lately. I think it's actually pretty good, especially if you're playing Dark Refer. In this game, I have double Bottomless, so I'm like, okay, that's nice. I'm just going to drop Gear Town, and then I'm going to summon both my monsters so I can beat his Bottomless. Once these two guys are in play, they're actually really hard to deal with. He has to actually set a monster and set an Icarus to have a shot this game. Otherwise, he's just going to get his summon clipped, and we're just going to kill him over the course of 2 turns. He goes Cyber Dragon, we have Bottomless. He goes Whirlwind Shura, we have Bottomless, and then he passes the turn. Couldn't put together the Dark Arm stuff so effectively there. On our turn, we attack for 5k. Oh, no, we don't. We just kill him. We just go get him. So that was a turn 2 kill. And that's this deck's 90 billion damage. You guys see it. We just set the field spell. We go get the third guy, and that's 8,000 exactly. On this turn, or this game is a little bit tough. I mean, he starts Whirlwind. He starts Whirlwind Shura, which is like the best possible opening. And he also does have Cyber Dragon, so we got to be careful of that. But our hand's actually really good. We have the Compulsory Evacuation Device, which is the new tech. This is the new technology. This card's really good in this deck, and it's also really good in this matchup. He goes Whirlwind, summon Shura, go search Bora, pass the turn. He has no back row, just all monsters, which is actually really good for us. He's playing a tech Elfin the Raven, which, again, alongside that Dark Creator, those 2 cards probably cost him this set. Having those 2 tech cards instead of having an interactive piece is the reason we were probably able to take over this one. So, food for thought, I suppose. We summon the Gear Frame here. We go search Fortress. I just set 4 and pass. I don't see a reason to try and crash. We know he has Clue. We know he has plays. So we're just going to pass. If he wants to play into Mirror Force, he can. If he wants to play into Bottomless, he can. Otherwise, we're looking at this turn, End Phase, Compulsory, his only monster, and then Mausoleum into Fortress, attack for 43, and then hopefully Bottomless his next summon, and then win the game from there. So we have Compulsory into Bottomless for 2 stops if he doesn't summon a monster this turn. Let's say he just sets back row or whatever. But he does. He summons Elfin the Raven. Now, we could Bottomless this here to stop his search, but we really don't need to. We really don't need to. If he searches Gale and tries to go for a Black Rose, then we have Starlight Road. If he searches Bora, tries to summon more monsters, we have Mirror Force. And if he doesn't do any of that, we're just going to Mirror Force his board. We can save the Bottomless and the Compulsory for the next summon stops and pretty much guarantee lethal over the next few turns. So he searches Sirocco, he attacks, we use our Mirror Force here. He's a little bit trapped in his hand. He didn't have the 3rd Dark. He could have specialed Deborah to set up for his Dark Armed, but we would have had, of course, the Bottomless and the Compulsory to interact with that. On this turn, we switch the Gear Frame, we summon the Fortress, and again, we go for the plan, which is just attack with both monsters, 4,300. Now here, we have to Bottomless Cyber Dragon. So if he normal summons a monster, let's say he normal summons Sirocco first, we have to Compulsory it. So that's something that I'm keeping in mind here. He goes for Cyber Dragon first, which is the higher value target. He probably should have gone for his normal summon first, in my opinion. Because if the normal summon resolves, then you're actually fine here. You get a special Bora, you get to do stuff, you get to find Gale, you get a Black Rose, whatever. But since the Cyber Dragon, if the normal summon gets stopped, then you'd rather have the Cyber Dragon to back it up. So he goes for the Sirocco afterward, and then we bounce that, of course, with Compulsory, and that's going to lock him out of this game. He's not able to play any of the cards in his hand. Blackwing is one of those decks where if the normal summon stopped, then they can't win the game. And that's the aggro mirror too. It's if If your deck is, out-tempoing the opponent with your trap cards, and then you have faster summons in the, palm of your hand, if you have Gear Town, whatever, Machina Fortress, that can come out very quick and deal burst damage, then these cards that stop normal summons from the other more normal summon reliant decks are actually very good. Compulsory Evacuation Device, sick tech. Okay, next match is against the True Swap Frog. The True Swap Frog is playing, I'm not sure what he's playing, I forget. He's playing zombies. This was a tough match. This was actually a very grindy match. Zombies is not the best matchup for Ancient Gear if you don't start with Ancient Gear Beast. Ancient Gear Beast is insane, but if you don't start with it, then it's pretty rough. Our opening hand's not great, so we just kind of have to rely on the opponent having maybe like a weaker start, like a Raikou, and then we can dust shoot, and then like he has some dead cards maybe. That's like basically what we're hoping for. I go for the Gear Frame attack. Unfortunately, it's Pyramid Turtle, and this is just going to give him the perfect setup in order to win. I mean, he has Heavy Storm for our back row. I said all three because I don't think there's going to be a chance we're going to use this Heavy Storm. He didn't set anything on the first turn of the game, and he set Pyramid Turtle. That's not really signaling Gores. That's more so signaling like Sweeper or like a shitload of monsters in his hand, in which case we'd rather just set our 3 back row and not worry about this Heavy Storm. This Heavy Storm is probably not going to get played this game. That's just the way I'm seeing it. I dust shoot him, and our suspicions are confirmed. Normally when you set Pyramid Turtle, you don't have Gores because it's very difficult to activate Gores through Pyramid Turtle, basically. That's kind of my thought process here. So I don't think he's setting 0 because he has Gores. I think he's setting 0 because he doesn't have back row. Okay, so he goes ahead and shuffles back the Caius. I take Caius here just because he can OTK us. He actually does have an OTK here, I believe. If I'm processing this correctly, he goes Heavy Storm, Normal Plague, Synchro Bryonic, Pitch Mizuki, Bounce, the Foolish. He also searches at some point, searches Zombie Master or something. And then I think with the combination of Mizuki, Zombie Master, and Plague, as well as Foolish Burial, he should be able to put together 8,000 damage. I believe there is a combination there. It's like, I think it's Bryo, Goyo, Gaia Knight, and Stacked Plague. Should be the 8,000. If I'm calculating this accurately. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes. Yeah, he synchros here. He could also do it, I think, with... Does it work with Revive King or Doomkaiser? Was that 52? No, it doesn't. He needs to have Gaia Knight in his extra deck. If he doesn't have Gaia Knight in his extra deck, he can't go for the OTK, but this is an OTK if he knew it. But he does go for this Goyo Guardian play instead. This is a mid-ground play. It doesn't burn his only Bryonic resource. It sets him up to make a big push next turn. So it's maybe he just doesn't have the Gaia Knight in his extra deck. Maybe he just doesn't have the resources for it. Maybe he doesn't want to play into Gores. So this is a solid mid-ground play. On our turn, we pick up Brain Control, which is actually okay here. It allows us to stay in the game. We're able to Brain Control Goyo Guardian and attack over the Gear Frame and then double Tribute for Fortress, main phase 2. We basically just have to hope he's scared of our set Heavy Storm here, but we're fucking dead. Like, he just summons Zombie Master, he pitches Mizuki, and he top decks Malicious too, which had I known he had Malicious in his deck, the Foolish Burial, the Plague Spreader, there are even more lethal combinations last turn. So he definitely could have gone for game last turn had he wanted to. In any case, he pitches the Malicious, goes for Plague, he goes ahead and Maliciouses, makes Stardust Dragon, and then he has an easy Bryonic with Stack Plague here, and that should be an easy kill. Even if the Bryonic targets the Fortress, he can get us to a point where like where the last card in his hand is Mizuki, which is the last few points of damage. So that was a tough game one. Against the True Swap Frog. I mean, he had all the combo materials he needed, plus he had Heavy Storm, which is really difficult. Post board though, we get a lot of tools. Namely, we get the Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo, we get our 1 copy of Nobleman, and we do get our Compulsory Evacuation Device. So these are all good cards in this matchup. I actually have a very strong hand here. I can special Sidra, normal Fossil Dyna, and then Knock can deal with Spirit Reaper, which is the one way they can, sort of stave off the aggression from Fossil Dyna. So I have a very strong hand here. And my draw is actually incredible too. I pick up Machina Gear Frame. So I'm able to Gear Frame into Fortress. I believe I just set Bottomless and pass. I don't want to commit too much into Heavy Storm because even though I could set Compulsory and bounce my own Gear Frame, that's not really where I want to be. I think Compulsory is also better too because if he does go for Heavy Storm, He's going to have to Heavy Storm to make a push through bottomless, basically. And if he does go for Heavy Storm, compulsory can deal with a resolved like Goyo Guardian or a resolved threat. Whereas bottomless Trap Hole can't deal with a resolved threat. So that's why I'm setting the bottomless first. He has to get through this in order to play the game. If he can't get through this, then he loses. And if he does get through it, then we have compulsory to deal with the resolved threat. So that's where I'm at. He has Stratos. I am going to bottomless this. I'd rather just keep the pressure up. If he has no back row, then we can just fucking kill him over the course of the next 2 turns because Dyna plus Fortress plus Compulsory is a game shot over 2 turns. He searches for the evil guy. He goes ahead and sets his Typhoon and passes the turn. We just attack for 18. We want to set up for a lethal shot, but we don't want to play into a sweeper too much. And then I just set Skill Drain and pass the turn. Skill Drain's another pretty good card in this matchup. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either. It helps you deal with Reaper. It helps you deal with Dark Armed, Caius, like the value cards. If they're playing Raikou, it deals with that. It deals with Bryonic. It deals with a lot of those annoying cards. Your 3,000 monsters are bigger than their monsters, so negating the effects just puts you in a better position usually. He has the Typhoon for the Skill Drain. He hits that and then passes the turn. Specialist Evil Guy goes for the Caius play. Banishes our Gear Frame. But then here he shows us he has no back row, and that's going to be it for us because we have the Dust Shoot, we have the Compulsory to keep him off the summon, and then we have Fortress Dyna to get over this. So we summon the Fortress, summon the Dyna. Fortress attacks over the Caius, Dyna attacks directly for 1200, and then we set both trap cards and we pass the turn. Dust Shoot him. Here I take the Diva because it's his only play. He can Heavy Storm to get more information. He says GG a little preemptively here. I mean, this is still game 2. He did win game 1, so we still have a match to play. And also, he can Heavy Storm to get more information before he concedes. So we attack with both, and then he top decks Book of Life. Here he reveals Book of Life. While I do know he's playing Book of Life, actually I don't know he's playing Book of Life. So I think this is a bit of a mistake from the True Swap Frog. Sometimes when zombie decks are playing the hero cards and the diva cards, they are playing Miracle Fusion and not Book of Life. So usually you'll see Book of Life without Miracle Fusion. Usually you'll see Miracle Fusion without Book of Life. And it changes the way I sideboard, actually. If he has Miracle Fusions, then I would sideboard differently. So showing us Book of Life actually tells me that he doesn't have Miracle Fusions in his deck. I might not have changed the way I was siding, just based off of what we'd seen, but there's a chance I would have. Also, he should Heavy Storm here to see my last back row to get information. It could have been a sideboard tech that he wasn't aware of. And in this case, it was. It was actually the compulsory evacuation device, which he doesn't know about. This game, it's a little bit more tough. He has Heavy Storm yet again. You know, three games Heavy Storm. He just draws and passes, representing Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. So I'm like, okay, he's got Gorz. I'm just going to Terraforming, go get my Gear Town. I'm going to Gear Town, set Gear Town, go get Gadgetron. So he only knows about this one Gear Town, which is the one we searched. He doesn't know about the set one. I like to leave it set, and this is actually pretty important. I get my Gadget Dragon, and I do attack. The reason I attack is because Compulsory can deal with Gorz. Like, I can bounce the Gorz token, and then the Gadget Dragon just attacks over the Gorz. So Compulsory trades 1-for-1 with Gorz, technically. Since once the Gadget Dragon is resolved, it's very difficult to get it off the field without specifically Cyber Dragon, and I have Solemn Judgment for that. The 2 Cyber Dragons being dead are pretty bad. This is a mistake. I should have sided one of them out going into game 3, but I mean, it's marginal. It's marginal. We set the Solemn and we set the Compulsory. He does drop the Gorz here. So on this turn, he activates Heavy Storm. On the Heavy Storm activation, I have a couple of options. I could Solemn Judgment, pay 4,000 life points, but then I'm just going to Compulsory the token, and I have this Gear Town sitting here, which doesn't do anything. I could also just elect to let the Heavy Storm resolve. The Heavy Storm pops my Gear Town. I Compulsory the token in response. We lose our Solemn, but we have 2 Gadget Dragons now instead of having a dead Gear Town, and we're still at 8,000 as well, which keeps us safe from like any sort of OTK pushes. If he has Caius, he still can only get over one of the Gadgetron Dragons, so I'm pretty happy about this, actually. And had he Heavy Stormed in the last game, he would have known about Compulsory Evacuation Device and maybe tried to bait it out before going for this Heavy Storm here. So I think there is some considerations to things. Even though these games are like, you know, they're very tight, they're within small margins because the games are so short, because of the way Ancient Gear plays. It's like you have like 3 or 4 actions before you lose the game or win the game. It is important to look at those actions because they carry a lot more weight. Okay, so the Heavy Storm clears our back row. compulsory clears the token, and we do get a second Gear Town, or not Gear Town, Gear Dragon out. He does have the Caius, so he sacks for Caius, banishes one of the Gear Dragons. Thankfully, he doesn't have Cyber Dragon here, because if he had Tribute, like, set Cyber Dragon, then made a 3,000 guy, it would have been curtains for us. We would have fucking lost, but as it stands, it's pretty good for us. He sets the return and passes the turn. So at this point, I'm trying to deduce information on what this set card is. I just attack with the Gadget Dragon because I have no other plays. So I just attack with the Gadget Dragon, and then I pass. He picks up Sangan. So this set card, I'm not sure what it is. But I know that if it was Book of Moon, it might have gotten used as we entered the battle phase, or it might not have gotten used. I don't know. If it was Book of Moon, so it's not Book of Moon. Yeah, it's not Book of Moon because he would have attacked over this. Yeah, that's right, because he would have had it on his turn. He would have attacked with the Gadget Dragon. So it's not Book of Moon. I know it's potentially Mirror Force Deep Prison. I know it's potentially Bottomless Torrential. I know it's potentially Wind Blast, but I feel like Wind Blast would have gotten used on the Gadget Dragon for sure. So I know it's not Wind Blast. I know it's potentially Solemn Judgment, but we'll deduce this stuff later on. And it's potentially Torrential Tribute. So here he sets Sangan. And then on my turn, I pick up Trap Death Shoot. I'm like, okay, Trap Death Shoot is pretty good because I can play my Ancient Gear Beast into his set monster. And even if his back row is Torrential, even if it is Bottomless or whatever, I can Dust Shoot him and take his combo piece to make sure he can't OTK me or whatever. So I sack my Gadget Dragon for the Ancient Gear Beast, and then he reveals here that it's not Bottomless or Torrential. So at this point, I'm like, it's either Deep Prison, Mirror Force, or that's it. Like, literally, that's it. Those are the only two things it could be, because if it was Solemn, he would have Solemned here, after we see the Sangan, of course. Once we see the Sangan gets negated, I'm like, okay, if it was Solemn, Bottomless, or Torrential, it would have got used. If it was Windblast Book, it would have got used. So it's either Return, Deep Prison, Mirror Force, or Call of the Haunted. These are the four cards that I have in my brain. So I set the Trap Dust Shoot, and then I pass the turn. I go ahead and Dust Shoot him in the draw phase. I knew he was setting up for the Dark Armored because of the way he was playing. I said in the chat before he revealed his hand, let me get that Dark Armed, lol, just had to let him know. I take the Dark Armed, but he does have Divas, and he does have Call of the Haunted, so he's going to be able to put together at least a play if I don't find lethal on the next turn. Now that I see Call of the Haunted here too, I'm like, okay, the back row is Deep Prison, Mirror Force, or Return. Those are the only three things it could be, because he would have stopped Ancient Gear Beast with Solemn, Torrential, or Bottomless. So this is just Return, Deep Prison, or Mirror Force. I take the Dark Armed, he sets the Call of the Haunted because he has to. He normal summons Diva, go gets his third Diva. He doesn't play Gilman. So he's not able to make a Catastrophe here off of these two cards. We pick up Ancient Gear Golem, which is a total brick, which is kind of unfortunate. But we are able to attack for 1800 here, which isn't too bad. On his turn, he Call of the Haunted, targets Sangan. And here I think he actually makes a pretty critical error. He's not very experienced with our deck, it seems, but he did see Cyber Dragon in the last game, which is a post-board game. So he knows we have Cyber Dragons in. Yes, Caius the Shadow Monarch and any 8-star is pretty weak to something like Machina Fortress, totally. But Catastrophe is even more weak to something like Cyber Dragon. So I think it's better for him to go, pull up the Sangan, sacrifice it for Caius. Maybe even Caius target your own monster so you have a live return later. I don't even know. You could do a bunch of crazy shit here. There's a bunch of stuff you could do. He searches with the Sangan. He goes and gets Goblin Zombie. And this is also the second critical error, I think, on this turn. This is a bigger critical error. So, looking ahead in the turns, you're going to out the Ancient Gear Beast, right? And you're going to normal summon whatever you search off of Sangan. The monster you want to search off of Sangan, you want it to be a monster that keeps you in play, so that on the next turn you can convert your Diva or your Caius the Shadow Monarch, or you want it to be a monster that turns on your return. Goblin Zombie does neither of those things. It's just one summon too slow. What he should have done here is actually search for Pyramid Turtle. When he normal summons the monster subsequently, also another bad part about this is Goblin Zombie can actually mill a Machina Fortress and turn on maybe potentially an otherwise bricked hand. So I think that this Goblin Zombie search is the biggest error here. Not going for Caius, maybe understandable. Maybe he wanted to get the Sangan search plus the additional pressure of the second normal summon. But the second normal summon, you definitely want to get Pyramid Turtle so that no matter what, even if I'm able to clear the Catastrophe with Cyber Dragon Chimera Tech, and I attack your other monster, you will have another monster in play to be able to convert off of your Deep Sea Diva or your Caius the Shadow Monarch. So this is a pretty important turn. He needed to look a little bit further ahead than just, search Goblin because Goblin search again. he needed to get Pyramid Turtle here, or Mystic Tomato if he's playing it. I'm assuming he's playing it because he's playing the hero builds that normally play 2 Mystic Tomato. So I think he's either playing Mystic Tomato or Pyramid Turtle, and that's the card you have to grab here. You don't grab Goblin Zombie. He mills Machine and Gear Frame, which is really awkward for us because then we top deck the second Ancient Gear Golem, which sucks. But I am able to special summon the Cyber Dragon and make Chimera Tech because he went for Ally of Justice. I don't know if he extra decks Android. I don't know if they have the space for it, but if he did, that probably would have been better to go for because it still gets over the Ancient Gear Beast all the same. It actually deals me more damage, and it's safer into Cyber Dragon for me. It's also safer into the fact that it pumps up your life points over 3,000, which is a nice threshold to be at, basically, against the Ancient Gear deck. We attack with Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, takes 900, and then here, because he no longer has the tempo, he can't search for the Pyramid Turtle off of the Goblin Zombie because it has 1,400 defense, and Goblin Zombie can only search for 1,200 or less, so he had to search a Battle Recruiter there. I mean, I would have been forced to attack it, right? Well, I wouldn't have maybe been forced to attack it, but I would have been in a much worse spot where I special Cyber Dragon, I'm like, okay, what do I do? You know, I might have even lost this game had he searched for a Pyramid Turtle or a Mystic Tomato there just to keep the tempo advantage and to guarantee that his Deep Sea Diva and his Kaius are live on the next turn. As it stands, he picks up Dark Arm Dragon. At this point of the game, there's 5 Darks in the grave. Very difficult for him to manipulate his graveyard in any meaningful way. He sets a Mizuki basically just hoping we don't top deck a monster, but we do. So even though we bricked 4 times this game, we top decked what we needed to top deck, and our opponent's like tiny error was able to cost him the match, so we were able to win this one. This was a really close game against the True Swap Frog. I think had he done 1 or 2 things differently in Game 3, he would have won. So something to consider for sure when reflecting upon this match. Something for me to consider too when sideboarding is I need to take out some copies of the Cyber Dragon and maybe even some copies of Ancient Gear Golem against zombies going second and third, or not going second and third, but going into the second and third game. The next match is against Gabagool, which is, he's playing Diva Hero, I think. It's like a weird Diva Hero where it's got Neos Alias, but it also has Plague. Yeah, and our opening hand sucks balls. I mean, we have Starlight and we have Plays, but it just doesn't do much. And he has, like, the best cards against us, which is Gemini Spark, Bottomless Trap Hole, and then he has Brain Plague. So it's just, like, this is just a tough matchup. He doesn't have any of the battle traps that we care about. He starts off with Stratos, he searches Alias, he hits us. We have Sidra on our turn. We pick up Heavy Storm, which does fuck all, basically. I could have maybe activated my Mausoleum, Heavy Stormed, and Starlight Roaded my own shit. But then, I don't know. I mean, it's just, the Stardust is just trading with the Bottomless, and then what am I doing? Like, summoning Cyber Dragon, taking over this? Like, that's not even as good as what happens afterward, which is me just summoning Ancient Gear Beast. Also, Mausoleum awkward when you don't have, like, Ancient Gear Golem, or, like, just a better threat. Like, I just don't have a great threat to summon off of it. Ancient Gear Beast does fuck all versus this deck. He's able to put together some shit here. He brains my Ancient Gear Beast, attacks. We can't stop the attack because of his effect. Summons the Plague, synchros into Stardust, Thought Ruler. He makes Thought Ruler. I don't think it's, like, that great to make Thought Ruler, but it's better than making Stardust, which just crashes with Fortress. I mean, either way, Fortress is going to clear this, but at least he's going to gain 2,500. I'm forced to pitch here to clear this, and then I'm forced to summon the Fortress back again in main phase 2 to play around the Plague that we know is in the graveyard, plus the level 4 we know is in his hand, Bryonic. Either way, though, he's able to kill us here. I mean, he just has like 6 different ways to kill us. He's also playing the triple Wind Blast. This matchup's really bad. Like, this matchup is really fucking bad. We top deck Gear Frame. He doesn't make a play here, which is crazy. I don't know why he didn't make the Plague play. I mean, like, he knows our back row's nothing. It didn't stop anything. It didn't stop the fucking Brain Plague turn, so I don't know why he wouldn't go for Bryonic here off the ocean, or off the ocean, Bryonic off the ocean, and then just pitch some of your dead shit and just, like, fucking kill me, but I don't understand why he didn't do that. I also don't understand why he didn't set the Wind Blast too. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm at 3,000. Like, just set your back row, man. Like, the Gores, it will be live. If I can break through all of this, then it will be live. Like, there's no reason not to set the Wind Blast here. I don't think. In any case, we attack this. He sparks this. We attack directly because we have to. I mean, like, we have to win this game somehow, right? And he has Gores, so whatever. We just go to the next one. This matchup's fucking shit. This game, I have an insane hand. This hand is ridiculous. This hand is like 90 billion damage. But unfortunately for us, he has his 1-up Gores again in his starting hand. So when we do go for game, we just lose, which fucking sucks. Thunder King, insane in this matchup generally because it shuts off this shit. As you can see, his hand is completely dead into Thunder King Book. So he picks up Miracle Fusion, another dead card here, doesn't do anything into Thunder King Book. Summons his own Thunder King, attempts to crash, we book his shit, and we have lethal, but it doesn't matter because he has Gores, and then that's all that really matters, is that he had Gores. So unfortunately we lose this one, and there's no real way that I would have played this differently. I'm going to put him on have Gores in your top 6 every single time. If you don't have it, like the chances of him having it are much lower than the chances of him having it in the top 6. Plus he had it in the top 6 in the previous game, which is some gambler's fallacy shit, which I love. Absolutely love, especially when playing hyper aggro decks like this. But everything just falls apart here. I mean, like, he plays this game in like such a weird way. Like, I don't understand from this point. But he sets nothing and he just passes. Obviously we can't get over the token. We have a shitload of ways to get over this token. We have a shitload of ways to get over it. We just don't draw it. I think he gives us like 10 turns and we just don't draw it, which is really annoying. We flood out on monsters, which is kind of like, it's kind of like the Magic the Gathering version of whatever it's called. This Alias summon was weird too. I mean, he pops the Thunder King to get his other shit live, but play your other shit then. What if I draw another Thunder King and summon it? Are you going to bottomless it there? Like, I don't get it. But yeah, we just proceed to flood out and draw too many monsters. I have the Compulses in this matchup because I saw he was playing Plague and Brain. I also do have other shit here. I'm able to book the Spine Gilman. If he doesn't have a way to convert off this Diva, like a Miracle Fusion or whatnot, then he's dead. But he does, of course, have the Miracle Fusion, because why would he not have it? He does also mess up. He does put the Absolute Zero in defense. You're definitely supposed to put it in attack here. Crash with the Gear Dragon, blow up my board, and then attack directly for 3,000. I mean, that's just the right play. Every single day of the week, that's the right play, but he doesn't go for it for no real reason. We have a shot at game because we have Ancient Gear Golem and he has a 0 defender, so we're able to summon this, but unfortunately he's found Bottomless Trap Hole in the meantime, so he goes for it. Had we top decked another Thunder King, he would have been forced to bottomless that, and he would have lost here. Had we top decked, a compulsory at any point, we would have won the game, but unfortunately we top decked 4 monsters back to back, which is just unfortunate. It's like, you don't play that much monsters, right? You only play, 9 Ancient Gears, and when you're drawing 6 of them, it's like, that's just bad luck, unfortunately. I think we had a shot to win this game, even after the Gores resolution, but we just drew cards in a bad order. And then, unfortunately, we're stuck like this, and we're just dead on board. I mean, there's nothing we can do. We're forced to Mausoleum, but he's got outs. He's got Spark, so we're just dead. In any case, that's the match. I give him a little salty. Lucky you had Gores. He says GG's, and I was like, lucky you have Gores twice. Hehehe, salt. But yeah, if he didn't have Gores, he was just dead game 2, and we get a reroll game 3. If we had top decked an out to the Gores token at any point, he was dead, and we get a reroll. But unfortunately, we top deck 4 monsters and Bottomless Trap Hole. And when you're testing a deck, when you're trying to improve a deck, you kind of have to look at this and be like, this shit is going to happen. Like, I can't really afford to cut Ancient Gear Beasts or cut Ancient Gear Golems. Like, I'm already down to 2 in post board. We drew our only 2. I'm down to 2 Dragon, 2 Ancient Gear Golem post board. We drew 6 out of our 7 Ancient Gear monsters that are in. It's just unfortunate, is what it is. It's just unlucky. Whereas, like, you gotta understand that sometimes in certain games that's gonna happen. Whereas, like, if there's actually a measurable mistake or a measurable change in the deck building process or the side building process, like, that's something you do have to look at as well. I think there's not really much you can take away from this match other than sometimes your opponent's gonna have Gores, and sometimes you're not going to draw the out, and that's okay. Okay, next match is against Bizo. He's playing Blackwings. In my opinion, this is the deck to beat. Blackwings is the deck to beat, and this is the matchup that you should be building your deck in preparation for if you're entering a tournament. I think Blackwings should be your number 1 priority to beat as of right now. It's the most popular deck. I don't think it's the best deck by any means, but I do think it's the most popular. I mean, it's not that I think it's the most popular deck. It just is. Statistically, it's the most popular deck. So definitely you should be building to beat this, so it's important to have that in mind. That's why I have so many cards here in the sideboard. I have the Compulsory, I have the Dust Tornadoes for Royal Oppression. When we get logged in again, we'll talk about it here in a second. Yeah, I have the Compulsories, I have the extra, Summon Stop, I have the Dust Tornadoes for Royal Oppression, I have the Sirocco, which helps you pump over their monsters, and then I have the Gores. So I have so many cards in my sideboard. That's at least 6 cards, 7 cards for Blackwings alone. Just because it's the most popular deck right now. He opens up really busted. He has Shura Whirlwind with Oppression Bottomless Book. Our hand is it's okay. I mean, it's pretty solid. We've got a game shot if we want to go for it. He makes some critical errors this game though. He doesn't set Royal Oppression. He just sets Book bottomless, which it makes sense, I guess. Like I think saving Royal Oppression, it is definitely a more high impact back row. I think if I was him, I would have also saved the Book in hand, because as it stands, Heavy Storm just destroys you. It doesn't end up mattering because we don't have Heavy Storm, but if you're going to set 3, you might as well set 4, and if you're going to set anything, you might as well just set Bottomless or just set Royal Oppression, because sure, a Kalut deals with anything else on the normal summon. We normal summon Gear Frame here, we search Fortress, we go ahead and pitch to summon Fortress, we attack, he goes ahead and books our Fortress. So this is a mistake, I think. He should have maybe Bottomless our Fortress. We do have Book to protect our own Fortress, so it's not the end of the world, but it would have been annoying for sure. It would have forced that, and then when our Gear Frame attacks, he has Book to trade with our Book, and then we're actually in a pretty bad position there. Whereas using the Book, I think it's a misuse of resources. We attack with the Gear Frame, he preemptively drops the Clue. I'm gonna Book in the battle step, obviously. I know about the Clue because he searched off Whirlwind. He returns the Clue to his hand, and then at this point it's actually really awkward for him because now he doesn't really have anything to deal with the Fortress, and Royal Oppression, you know, at this point is already dead, so it doesn't really amount to much. He finds another Shura, but we book it on the summon, and this is how you beat Blackwings. I mean, you just stop their normal summon and they kind of fall apart. Like, the deck just doesn't do anything. He doesn't have Icarus, so he's not able to break up our board. He tries to search, but you don't get a search with Book of Moon. This needs to check attack on resolution. We find Mausoleum of the Emperor. We flip Machina Fortress. It gets bottomless. We Mausoleum, pay 2,000, summon Ancient Gear Golem, and that's lethal damage with the limiter removal. So we are able to win here through Royal Oppression, through Black Whirlwind Shura start, through Book of Moon bottomless, which is very lucky, actually. I think the opponent could have played it a little differently and definitely won that one. So tricky stuff for sure. People also like to bash Blackwings. They like to say it's Helmet, but it's really not. It's really not. He made like 1 or 2 like minor sequencing errors, and it cost him an entire game. Like, that's just how it is. The deck is not very rewarding when you mess up a lot of the time. Sometimes it is because Blizzy is broken, but most of the time you make a mistake and you're going to feel it, especially in the mirror match. This game, he also starts Shura Whirlwind, which is fucking nuts. And he also starts it with 4 back row. So he searches Kalut, sets the 4 back row, passes the turn. On our turn, I special Cyber Dragon, and here he doesn't Oppression, doesn't Bottomless, doesn't do anything. He just wants to get his Shura Search really, really badly. If I'm him, I'm flipping the Suppression every single day of the week. But we have our sideboard tech to deal with Royal Oppression, which is Gores. So he does go for this play. We try to book the Shura before the damage step again. He Dark Bribes. We draw into Terraforming. Had he gone for Royal Oppression, we had the Typhoon anyway, but he would have had Dark Bribe for it, so it would have been a different game for sure. I'm not sure if this is the best permutation for him, because he doesn't really have Icarus attack, and now he doesn't have another follow-up summon for the Black Whirlwind. So I don't know if this is the best permutation for him, but I think it's not the worst either. Getting a Vayu into play is not the worst thing here. We just set Typhoon and pass. He does find another normal summon for the Whirlwind, which is insane. He's going to attack main phase 1. We're going to Typhoon the Whirlwind on the attack. Because he didn't activate Royal Oppression on the Cyber Dragon, I have a read that he doesn't have Royal Oppression. I have a read that he maybe has, Icarus attack, he maybe has, some other stuff. Potentially even Solemn Judgment, or Book of Moon, or Bottomless Trap Hole, or even Mirror Force Deep Prison. It could be anything. It could be anything. Like, actually anything. It could be actual anything. And I don't really want to blind Typhoon into his actual anything back row. I just don't want to blind Typhoon into it. It could even be Starlight Road. It could be something I don't care about with my hand. Whereas the Black Whirlwind is a card I'm always going to care about with my hand. The cards in my hand I can use to play into the back row. I can use the cards in my hand to beat some trap cards, beat 3 like random trap cards. But I can't use the cards in my hand to beat this Black Whirlwind. This card is just too good. It's going to be infinite resources the second he finds another monster. So I have to clear that because nothing else in my hand deals with it. I pop the Black Whirlwind, I take 18, I drop Gores, and this is how he tries to bottomless Gores, but you can't in the damage step. He special summons the Bora main 2 and makes Catastrophe. This is a misplay, in my opinion. He should not have done this. If anything, he should have special summoned Bora and made Mistworm, bounced our cards, or not special summoned Bora and done this at all. I just think this is a bit of a mistake. I think just leave all your monsters in play and represent Icarus attack is the correct play. We Terraforming for Gear Town here. We Gear Town, we normal summon Ancient Gear Beast. He bottomlesses. He reveals the wrong bottomless too. So our opponent just kind of fell apart here in game 2. Game 1, it was okay. It was like one small error, but this game it was like 10, and it didn't even end up really mattering that much because I think the Gores would have won through the back row that he had regardless. So I think no matter what, we were winning this game because Gore's compulsory is like a secured win versus the cards that he ended up drawing. But I think he definitely could have played this game a lot more tight. So something to reflect on if you're the opponent watching this match. We crash the token. He picks up Royal Oppression again. Second Royal Oppression doesn't do anything to resolve Gores again. We just attack for 27, and this is gonna be the game. He normal summons Sirocco, doesn't do anything. We just attack over it. Again, he finds Black Whirlwind, doesn't do anything. We just attack directly, set the road, pass the turn. He finds Upstart. Upstart's into Sidra. Sidra in defense, doesn't matter. We brain it, go for game. Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Ancient Gear, right now 2-0 over Blackwings, which is pretty good in my testing. I think this list is pretty good versus Blackwings. I think the Gores plus compulsory game plan post board is pretty good versus Blackwings. But I still need more testing. I still need more testing in this matchup. I think that's going to be one of those matchups you want to tighten up for sure. And then the last match is against Dastrar. Against Dastrar, he's playing Volcanic Quick Draw, which is a bad matchup because they play Battle Fader. That card is really good against us. And our opening hand sucks balls. It's just like too many monsters and not a lot of conversion. We summon Gear Frame, we search Fortress, and then set Mirror Force and pass. Here, I play this game way too passively. He goes Lone Fire into Tomato and then sets a card and passes. I should have just played my hand out here. I have Morphing Jar to rebuild, so I should have just played my hand out. I was just a little bit too afraid. I was a little bit too afraid. Another thing I make a mistake on here is I don't sack this Gear Frame immediately for Ancient Gear Beast. I should have done that. I normal summon the second Gear Frame because I want to get the value out of the Gear Frames. But then I'm realizing, oh shit, how am I going to get over this Tomato? This is really awkward. Maybe I can play a little bit passively and bait him into attacking with the Tomato and then I'll Mirror Force it. But it was definitely a misplay to summon the Gear Frame here. I should have sacked this Gear Frame for the Ancient Gear Beast and at least tried to pressure this Tomato. Like, that's definitely the correct play. Again, Lone Fire into Tomato is a little bit misleading too. Usually decks that play this play Mark of the Rose, so I'm a little bit nervous, you know. I don't want to give him my Ancient Gear Beast. I don't want to give him like the power of that against my hand where I might need some of these effects to resolve later on. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this was the correct line, but I'm pretty sure in hindsight, just going for the Gear Beast to pressure the Mystic Tomato is correct. This is definitely not correct. This loses to fucking everything. He just finds the Rocket, which is going to get him the Blaze. He didn't brick on the shells because he's playing 46 cards, which is why I'm assuming he's playing the 46 cards. And he just has it all this game. I mean, he just gets steamroll advantage from this point, and we're not able to come back. We don't find anything else that really adds up to a victory here, unfortunately. I summon Gear Frame, I search Fortress, I set the Typhoon, and yeah, it's my third Gear Frame summon, my third Fortress scene. I do draw a lot of multiples with this deck. It's a little bit awkward. Kaius gets summoned, banishes the Gear Frame. He goes Quick Draw Dandy into Drill. But we lose to the Drill. The Drill's insane here. Drill unanswered is just game with any deck. I mean, this card is so broken. It's like the best, second best synchro monster in the format. I've said it a million times. This card's so stupid. He has Volcanic Scatter Shots in his deck. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that this game. We try to Typhoon his back row to make an aggressive push back, but there's really no coming back from this point. Like, we kill his board, and then he just rebuilds it immediately with Drill Warrior. So we have to go to game 2, which sucks. Yeah, definitely played this game a little too passively. I'm playing a hyper aggro deck. I'm playing Morphing Jar. I should have played a little bit more aggressive this game. I definitely got punished for not doing that. He adds back Dandelion, and then he's just able to Black Rose, make our Gear Town miss timing because Dandelion is Chainlink 1, so yeah, it's gonna be a tough one to come back from. Nigh impossible to come back from. Go ahead and go first. In this game, we have Skill Drain Solemn, which is busted. We also have busted Limiter Removal with busted Gear Golem, so we're actually not in that bad of a spot. He has Ceasefire in his deck. I don't understand this card in his deck. This is something that I don't fully understand, but I don't get it. Normally, Ceasefire is in a deck that cares about Raikou. This deck doesn't care about Raikou, or it's in a deck that wants to burn people out. This deck, it's slow. It doesn't burn people that efficiently. So I think Ceasefire doesn't really have a place in this deck. He sets 2, and then he sets his Tomato. On our turn, we find Terraforming. I go ahead and Terraforming into Gear Town. At this moment in time, I just summon my dudes. I activate Mausoleum. I try to normal summon my Ancient Gear Golem, but he has the Typhoon. I considered Solemning here, but I was thinking Skill Drain should be enough to win if I can back it up with Solemn. We have a 3,000 monster, and I don't think his deck can really get over a 3,000 monster under Drain that effectively. We also have Limiter Removal in case he's able to put together an Ancient Fairy Dragon, which is one of the ways he could wall me out. A Skill Drain before damage in case it's a Raikou. It's not. It's a Mystic Tomato. He finds DD Crow. This is a questionable side-in as well. It only hits Machina Fortress, and we generally have priority to bring it back, so not really a great card to bring in this matchup, I don't think. We find Thunder King a little awkward with the Skill Drain, but it is still going to be good because it's going to stop any Synchro Summon the opponent's going to go for. So it's going to protect us from whatever he wants to do with this Malicious, which is a crazy card to have in this deck. I don't understand what his deck's trying to do. He finds Volcanic Rocket, but it doesn't do anything into Skill Drain, and even if Skill Drain wasn't there, he has no way to really turn on his Blaze Accelerator, so we're actually big chilling. If I was him, I probably would have tried to crash with the Thunder King, but he's just too low at this point. We're able to attack over with Gear Dragon, and then Thunder King direct, and then Gear Frame direct with Limiter for game. So we go to the third game, in which I am going second. That game, he had a lot of issues. This game, this card is heat. This card is fire. No pun intended. No pun intended. But his hand is a little bit sus. He's got that DD Crow again. Again, siding in DD Crow in matchups where it's not good, always questionable. Always questionable. Our hand, though, is heat. We've got an active Gear Town because we can pop it with our Mausoleum. We've got Dust Tornado to deal with Blaze Accelerator. And we got Bottomless Trap Hole to stop Drill Warrior. Plus, we've got a Gear Frame to find Fortress. So we have, this is the perfect hand, in my opinion. It's the perfect hand. He finds Malicious again. I don't really understand why this is in his deck. I haven't seen any way to really get this out of his hand besides Quick Draw. So I don't really understand why this is in his deck. We find a second Gear Town, which is just insane. So I summon the Gear Frame. I don't want to play into Gores because he just drew past. So I'm like, he's got to be representing Gores, right? In fact, it's actually a very skillful bluff from Dastrar. He's bluffing Gores, and, when you have a weak hand, sometimes bluff Gores is just the best thing you can do. It's the best thing you can do. You don't want the opponent to pop the fuck off, so you bluff Gores. Gear Frame attacks for 18. We could go for game here. We have, well, not quite game. We could go for 7,200 here, or 7,800 here. But we don't want to play into Gores. Gores would just fuck our hand really, really hard. So I think it's just poke a little bit and then go for a game shot when we have it. We set just Dust Tornado here. Don't need to set Bottomless Trap Hole just yet. He has no way of really putting anything together. He does find Lone Fire. And here he makes an interesting play. He goes Lone Fire into Tomato instead of Lone Fire into Titanial. This, to me, is an interesting play. This means, I'm not sure what this means. It tells me maybe he doesn't have Gores. And then it also tells me that maybe his hand needs a certain combo piece. Maybe it needs a shell. Maybe it needs something to be online. At this point, I just end phase Dust, and I'm planning to go for an aggressive push on my turn. On my turn, I do set the Bottomless off of the Dust too, which I maybe shouldn't have done, but I just wanted to do it to be cute. I draw Trap Dust Shoot, and I'm like, okay, Trap Dust Shoot's great. So even if I'm not able to get in the lethal 6,200 here, which I should be able to do theoretically, because I just attack this guy with the Gear Frame. Let's say he gets another Tomato. That's 16 with the Gadget Dragon. And then he gets a Sangan. If he's playing 3 Tomato, okay, it's not lethal damage, but I force him to have something, and then I have Dust Shoot Bottomless. Bottomless for Cyber Dragon, Dust Shoot for anything else, which would be the shell that he searches off the Sangan if he has triple Tomato. If he has double Tomato, then we attack over this with the Gear Frame. The next one is 16. He gets Sangan. The next one's 2,000. So that's 36. And then it's 2,500 direct. He's just short of dead. Just short of dead. If he's only playing 1 Tomato, however, this is a kill shot. So we attack over the Tomato. He realizes that he doesn't have a way to survive, and we are able to just go for game. So while this push may look kind of sus in retrospect, it made sense in the moment because I have Bottomless Dust Shoot to make sure nothing really goes wrong. Tough matchup. They do normally play Battle Fader. This build was a little bit messy. I think the 46 cards is a little weird. Malicious is a little weird. A lot of weird stuff in this build. Some cool stuff, like the Spiritual Fire art, but these are generally speaking pretty bad cards. And DD Crow against Ancient Gear is just not where you want to be in general. So good testing session. What do I think of the deck right now? I think the deck is in a good spot, actually. I think this deck does pretty well against the field. I think it's pretty good against zombies. I think it's pretty good against Blackwings. I think it's pretty fucking good against Vayu. And then you have some speed against Frogs if you don't run into Battle Fader. Frogs is annoying because dupe block is annoying game 1. You really only have the 2 Book of Moons to deal with it game 1. But, I mean, nobody plays frogs, really. Heroes is probably a good matchup. You just have to dodge Cyber Dragon. Hero Beat, that's a little bit sus. They have like Gemini Spark and shit. You got to be careful with that matchup. Maybe need to adjust the sideboard a little bit for Hero Beat. But overall, I think the deck is pretty good in today's meta. Let me know what you guys think of Ancient Gear right now. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys are up to. You know, just I like hearing you guys' comments. I like reading the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.